prevention and mitigation. First is the issue of response and recovery. The way you respond in your crisis situation will aid your recovery. Don't wait until the damage is terrible. Respond as quickly as possible. Respond frankly, but skillfully and wisely. Finally, monitor and report on regular basis based on what you have on your dashboard. So you must have a reputation risk management dashboard that will help in doing this. Continuing on the structure, it's very interesting. You know, most times we don't realize the influence, the power, and what women bring on board. Listed Nigerian banks improved governance by adopting risk management committees with gender diversity. In this case, this gender diversity we are talking about is really about women. So in 2023 study, it was revealed that banks with 30% female representation in risk committees saw 12% higher return on assets compared to peers. And this is according to Sani and Hashim, 2024. So you see that it is not in our own interest to play down on women. Instead, they have, women have a way with things. We'll now look at a case study, if time will permit, Nsirim versus Sunray newspaper. This happened in 1996. And the reason why I felt that I should bring this is everything about reputation comes at a price. Nsirim was a staff of Sunray newspaper. They had a football match. And in this football match, they said that his organization, Sunray newspaper, used to be regarded as the prefect or the reputation prefect of that competition. It was a cup of all journalists in Rivers State. And then every time other organizations will go and hire mercenaries who are either not journalists or are journalists, but not working in the organization. And Sunray had always stood up against them. And Nsirim was the chairman of the chapel, the Sunray Chapel. And then it happened that this year, they discovered that they didn't have a strong team. And then they had to now bring in people who were not journalists, though they were staff of Sunray newspapers, to come and play for them. And Nsirim said it wasn't going to happen. Not just that he was chairman of NUJ Chapel, but he was also a player himself. So he said, no, yes, it may give us advantage, but it's undue advantage. And we have fought against this same thing. So how can it be that our own organization that have been fighting this would now be the ones to go and promote such a thing? He stood his ground. Management had a meeting and felt that they should plead with him to succumb to their will. He refused. And as a result of that, it cost him his job. He was sacked on the spot. But eventually, he fought his way back. People fought for him. He got his job back. But he stood for the reputation of Sunray newspaper, but he had to pay a price to do that. Reputation risk management checklist that will help us. First, we must recognize reputation as a top-tier business risk. Secondly, we must integrate public relations with risk and continuity planning. It's very important. We must identify key triggers, part of which are issues of leadership, customer trust, regulation, and so on and so forth. We need to monitor public perception, public sentiment, and then the way the media manage information from our organizations. We need to have our dashboard, as said earlier. We need to build a crisis-ready communication plan, run simulation exercises regularly, act fast, stay transparent during crisis, break down silos across PR, legal, risk, and operations. Interestingly, I saw in the letter that was sent to me where the CEO of Drawbridge was saying is public relations siloed, that we are regarded as a siloed profession. Unfortunately, I won't be able to talk about that at this time, but I believe it's a topic that we need to look at sometime in future. Closing thoughts. Reputation is everyone's business, but public relations professionals must lead the charge in connecting the dots across disciplines. We must integrate risk thinking into public relations. It's something that we have to begin to build into our mindset, and vice versa, as the case may be. The future of reputation protection lies in collaboration, proactive planning, and strategic integration. One of the things we are doing in this retreat is that we are beginning to confront the issue of specialization in public relations practice. You don't have to be a jack of all trades. You can take certain areas. There is maritime PR, there is aviation PR, there is banking PR, there are so many. You can specialize in any aspect, and then we can then collaborate as the case may be. That will help in reducing reputation risk in areas that we don't have strength. So managing reputation is more of a preventive measure that starts before a crisis ever happens. The way we do it will determine how we are able to not just identify, but to manage. So for me, this is our call. This is our charge, and this becomes our action moving forward. I have some concluding questions, about 7 of them. I'm not sure I'll be able to take all, but I'll just take a few. What role does public relations play in shaping and safeguarding organizational reputation? The reason why we have these questions is that it will help you as a PR practitioner, as a public relations practitioner, to take these questions, answer them. You will see that you will begin to develop a capacity and even competence in reputation risk management. How can organizations anticipate, or rather, how can my organization anticipate and respond to reputation damaging crises in a diligently connected world? What internal structures or teams do I have in place to manage reputation consistently? How do cultural, political, and economic contexts influence reputation strategy in Nigeria and even Africa, given the role that Nigeria plays in Africa? What are the most effective strategies and best practices for managing reputation in my country, in Nigeria, and then in African markets? What frameworks and tools support a modern, proactive approach to risk management? And finally, how should my organization, how should I measure and track my reputational health over time? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm done.
I think our president deserves a round of applause. I'm not sure there is anything he has left untouched, even though he touched them in passing. But I believe all the different elements that this discussion today is supposed to cover from the other speakers, he has touched 1 or 2 of them. So we are very grateful. We thank you for taking out time to prepare this presentation and to deliver it so expertly. It is not for any other reason than for things like this that you are sought after and called upon when conversations in our industry that center around reputation management come up. So you continue to remain a leading light. We have taken a lot of learning from this, your brief presentation. Ordinarily, I think this is a session that even 2 hours wouldn't have been sufficient for you to do justice to. So we appreciate you. I can see applause and claps coming in from the chat box. I think it's just to show that whatever comments I am sharing now cascade across all the attendees. Thank you very much, sir. Once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. May I have your permission to now go and join my colleague at the other room?
In the other room. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
Yes. Right. So quickly moving on. We have with us, and I think at this point, I would like to yield the floor and give our moderator room to anchor the rest of the session. We have Dr. Ezekiel, we have Tokumbo, we have myself. I think she would do justice by sharing our profiles as well as guiding us through all the conversation up to the Q&A. But don't forget, once again, please use the Q&A button to ask your questions. At the end of the presentations, the presenters will attempt to respond to them. There's also the poll, which is going to be launched now, basically to measure our level of knowledge and the application of the practice of risk management and risk identification in our organizations. Thank you very much. Please, Madam Moji, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Austin. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, and thank you, Mr. President, for the very insightful presentation. So today, this webinar, which is the third in the series, will be discussing protecting the organization's reputation and the critical role of risk identification and management. Hassan has endeavored to set the context, and really what we'll be doing now is to go into an in-depth analysis of the role of risk management in organizations, how they contribute to the sustainable business, business, and not able to, we need to determine the reputation risk. To do justice to all of this, we have Mr. Ezekiel Hussaini, who HDFM is the president of the Nigerian Chartered Risk Management Institute. And I'll just quickly go through his biography, his profile, I mean. So Professor Ezekiel is a distinguished risk management and finance expert. He serves as the special assistant to the CEO of the Bank of Industry and the chairman, founder of Lexa Business Support Limited. He was the chief risk officer at the Bank of Industry, where he implemented the enterprise-wide risk management framework and secured high ratings from Fitch, Moody's, and Augusto & Co. Professor Hussaini holds a PhD in business and applied economics and is a certified risk manager. He's a senior associate member of RIMAN and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. He has published several articles and teaches as an adjunct lecturer at the University of Lagos. With expertise in risk management, finance, and entrepreneurship, Professor Hussaini is a highly accomplished professional with a strong academic and industry background. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome warmly Dr. Ezekiel Hussaini, and let's listen to him share the gems on risk management with us. Doctor, for joining us. It's a pleasure having you.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, sure.
Yes,
we can.
All right. So thanks so much, Chief Engagement Officer. Thank you, everyone, for having me with you this morning. My name is Ezekiel Hussaini. I would like to share my screen if I have the right to do so. Oh, okay. Please, can you confirm what I can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. So, just like I've been told, I have just 15 minutes to speak to you, and I will try as much as possible to do that. And I want to appreciate the president of your institute for giving a very remarkable background to what we'll be looking at today. First, I would like to possibly ask a question, which I'm not requesting for any response. What I want to ask, how do you describe the business world today? How do you describe the business environment today, whether you look at it from Nigeria or you take it to the global environments? I believe that many of you there will be thinking that the world business environment is chaotic, it is unpredictable, so many uncertainty. It is very unfair and very unfriendly, and whatever response you give, you are talking about risk management. And it could take more than have a lifetime to build a reputation. And it takes less than a twinkling of the eye, to get it destroyed. Yes, I heard what the president was saying concerning what Warren Buffett was, that it takes 20 years to build a reputation and less than 5 minutes to, I believe that it's even less than 5 minutes to get it destroyed. That is how terrible, if you do not manage our reputation very well as an entity or as an individual. So if I take you to what David Koenig, the president of this CRO Institute, which is one of the world leading risk management institutes, around, is of the view that every day we wake up, with news of disruption, unpredictable things, and what next we do. You slept, thinking you've resolved this problem and that tomorrow will be better, but you wake up again to hear news, across the world. Are you talking of the business, struggle between China, US, how US is intervening, disrupting economies across the world, building an economy pretty chaos, and they're, affecting the value chain, whatever it is, we have things to worry about on a daily basis. And so for me, I am the view that when you cannot identify your risk, or you identify them and you are not managing them properly, regardless of your strategic plan, regardless of the kind of team that you have, there's going to be a problem. In fact, when risks are not identified, when they're not properly managed, it can make the best of your team to look like they don't know what they are doing. That is, the impact of risk management on our institutions. And then somebody was asking me sometime, I just tried to put it out here, how can we live without taking risk? Is it possible? Of course, it's not possible for you to live without taking a risk. It's not possible for you to run a business without taking a risk. So not taking a risk on its own is taking a risk already. So we cannot avoid it. We cannot run away from it. We must always be confronted with risk at all times. So every risk that we face as an institution, if it's not well managed, it has the potential to trigger at least one other risk. Whether you are talking of regulatory risk, you are not complying, there's compliance issue, there are credit issues, there are personnel issues, we call people risk. If it's not well managed, it's going to create further risk. And the most likely risk that will be created is the reputational risk. And I tell you, the reputational risk is the biggest risk and the most expensive risk to manage. I think I want to disagree with what Warren Buffett said, as mentioned by the last speaker, that you lose certain percentage of your. No, I think it goes beyond that. When you check your financials, your biggest asset could be your land and property. It could be something else which you can quantify it. But reputation risk, you cannot put a figure on it. It can make the entire business to go down. So it is the biggest, the most unvalued, the most unquantified, and the most expensive risk to manage. So it's something we need to avoid at all costs. So, and how do you manage your reputation risk? How do you avoid it? And the best way to do that is that every other risk, make sure that they are well managed so that they do not crystallize to reputation risk. Every other risk not managed, not identified, the bottom line is reputation risk. And I give an example. If you have if your business run on technology and you always have business failure, IT failure almost every time, that risk will trigger some other risk. And before you know it, it's going to affect your reputation. And the moment an organization lost its reputation, that's the end of that business. So reputation risk is a damage to the organization brand and integrity. It's about negative perception about the institution, what that institution represents, and those that represent that institution. So reputation risk is not only for the institution itself, for everyone that is part of that institution will suffer from any reputation risk that the organization suffer from. So, and I heard the last speaker too, it's the responsibility of every one of us to ensure that reputation risk does not crystallize. So I perfectly agree with it. Now, so what are the ways we can use to manage our reputation risk? Yes, you can say, okay, avoidance, yes, take no risk, but how possible is that? Effective management of other risk is the most avoidable. So make sure that other risk that will crystallize to reputation risk, they are well taken care of. And if they are well managed, then you will not have issues with your reputation. And I noted it here, you as public relations officer managing the image of the organization. You know, I don't envy you, where you have to stand before the camera and begin to defend your undefendable for what some other people did that they could have done better. But you have to come out and begin to find a way to manage it, find a way to say, no, it's not that true, it's not this, it's not that. Because there was some other risk that some people did not manage well. So it crystallized to reputation risk that you have to come to start managing, the damage. So reactive damage control, which possibly you have to do some press release or, go to court and pay damages and things like that, is reactive and is very expensive. And there's no assurance that at the end of the day, the organization will be able to recover fully from that damage. So, and I'm going to, let me give an example here because of time. Now, there is a bank in Ghana. It is called Midland Savings and Loans. In 2017, 2018, it had a challenge, a risk that was caused by a third party, not one of their staff, a third party service provider. How did it happen? In the morning at about 7:30 a.m., a grandmother with a 2-month-old baby, her grandchild, she carried the grandchild to the bank to collect Ghana cedis, 25 Ghana cedis. You know what that means? Maybe less than 20 naira or whatever Nigerian currency at that time. So she got to the bank at about 7:30 a.m. to collect the little money to buy baby food for this grandchild. She was not given the money, and she was in the banking hall till the bank was about to close. Then the bank wanted to close and they asked her to leave. This woman refused to leave, that she needed to get her money to give food to her baby. The woman refused to leave, every appeal failed. And, they brought in the policeman that was assigned to guide that bank. The policeman came in, told the woman to leave, the woman refused to leave and said she wanted her money, that her baby needed to eat. What did they do? The policeman started beating this woman, started using the boot of a gun or a rifle to hit the woman. And the woman was carrying a child. The woman was being dragged, the woman refused to leave. Then one of the staff, went to the grandma and took the baby away from her. The policeman kept beating her. And somebody in the backing hall was recording it. And the following date was posted on the social media. Everybody got to know about it. I used this case study in 2018. Everybody got to know about it. It brought a serious reputational damage to Mainland Savings and Loan Bank in Ghana. The president of Ghana was angry. The parliaments were angry. Companies started, donating for this woman. At the end of the day, I think she made up to 50,000 Ghana cedis. Somebody wanted to take 25. What happened to the company? Today, that company is no more. That reputation damage contributed to the demise of Mainland Savings and Loan. You can verify it. Yes, they had issues with liquidity, but they could have raised money. Investors would have brought in capital. But because of that singular act, their reputation was damaged and they could not raise funds. And the Central Bank of the Bank of Ghana had to withdraw their license. And that was in 2019. Now, who caused this damage? A third party, a police officer. I'm very sure that police officer is still in the police force of Ghana today. Probably he has risen to a commissioner or whatever. But the damage that he has caused can never be retrieved. So that is the essence of reputation risk, that we need to ensure that all institutions will take it very seriously. And then, I'm to talk about business continuity. So there's a link between your reputation and the future of the organization. When we talk of business continuity, we're talking of in the situation where there are issues, where there are problems that could bring either temporary disruption to your business or, or whatever. How do you survive? How do you ensure that you keep providing services, to your stakeholders? So a strategy needs to, be put in place to ensure that when risk crystallizes, it does not cause a permanent disruption to any part of your business operation. I am talking to you. I am using a network. There's a likelihood that this network will fail. If it fails, how do I connect back to you? I must have an alternative that's as effective, very good as the one I'm using now, in case there's any disruption. So business continuity is something that we all need to take seriously in all our institutions. And let me also say this, that my institute, that's the Chartered Risk Management Institute, we have 2 bills before the National Assembly. One of them will be of interest to you. That one is that the bill has gone through the, I think it's designated for public hearing now, that we want all government institutions, MDAs, ministry, department, and agencies of the government to have a functional risk department. Because anything can fail. And so when they have functional risk management department in their institutions, they will be proactive in managing their risk. The addition will be subjected to risk assessments, risk identification, and then we'll be able to deliver better service, be able to deliver on our mandates. So business continuity is something that's very key to our institutions, and it helps us to recover in the event of any disaster. There are several sources of business, what could cause business disruptions. Human risk. Human risk is very key, very, very important. And what do we mean by human risk? Possibly there are 1 or 2 people in your institution that if they do not come to work, you can't take a decision. If they decide to fall sick, then that business is sick. If they travel, the business has traveled until they return back. This is human risk. And so when that happens, you cannot do anything. Technology failure. Natural disaster. All these are sources of, that could threaten business continuity. Power supply failure. There must be alternatives to all these challenges in case any of them crystallize, where you can then be able to restart your business with little or no disruption to the service that you render to stakeholder. And so we need to develop preventive and recovery strategies for each of these causes of business, of disaster that could create problem for a business, or organizations to be able to, to continue to run. And I just give an example of third party, third party risk. Yeah, though this event might not immediately crystallize in business continuity issues, but at least it's created, reputational issues, for them. So because of time, I want to stay within my time, but I'm not exceeding it. So I want to say here to you all that risk is unavoidable. You cannot avoid taking risk. You must, if you avoid one, you cannot avoid the next one. You must take risk. And it is good to take risk because risk comes with opportunities. Don't be afraid to take risk. All you need to do is to understand the risk that you are taking. Find a way to manage the risk. And in the course of managing the risk, you might see opportunity therein that possibly put you at a better advantage than your competitors. So I will leave you with this. Going back to what Kwame said, which is the president of the DCRO Institute, that every day we wake up with new issues, with new risk matters. And sometimes we feel like we don't know what else to do. We live in a world that can be described as chaotic, unpredictable, uncertain. So yesterday's solution may not fit today's challenge. So you need to be very proactive, always thinking. And if you are in the public relations, don't let them create reputational risk for you. Be part of the people that be able to prevent it from happening. Be part of the process. Don't always be at the end cleaning the mess that they have created. Be part of the decision making. They'll be able to see things right from the very start. And if eventually there's a reputational risk that crystallizes, it will be easier for you to manage and to be less expensive for your institution. So on this note, I want to say a very big thank you to everyone. Thank you for giving me time to speak to you this morning. God bless.
Thank you, Dr. Ezekiel. Thank you so much. And I must say that I did take a bit of notes, and one of which is that we all should remember that yesterday's solution may not be a right fit for today's challenge. Thank you so much. I would like for us to take the next paper, and then we'll take all the questions in one breath. Since there are not so many, they're just 4 already in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Chief Adetokunbo Modupe. We call him Tokes anyway in the industry. So Tokes is a renowned Nigerian public relations professional and is the chairman, group CEO of CPT. CPT is also a very respected public relations firm. Tokunbo Modupe excels in reputation management, policy marketing, and boardroom communication. He served quite a number of high-profile clients across various economic sectors, and he holds a master's degree from York St. John University and has completed executive programs at the Harvard Business School as well as the Lagos Business School. Modupe has also contributed to politics and public service. He mentors young politicians and is currently very active in developing his home region. He has received multiple awards for his contribution to the communications industry, including the Corporate Practitioner of Excellence by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues in the industry, please welcome Adetokunbo Modupe, the Chairman, Group CEO of TPT International, as he presents his paper on reputation risk management. Thank you. I think we need to unmute Mr. Can the admin unmute him, please? Because we can't hear him. Hassan.
No, I've sent him the request to unmute. He's about to unmute himself.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, apologies, please. I think he's having some challenges with his audio. He's trying to rejoin. So let's just give him a couple of minutes so that he can just log out and then log back in.
Madam Mojisola, please check your WhatsApp. Check your inbox, your DM.
Okay.
Okay, so please, he's logging back in. So please, let's also, while we wait for him to rejoin, let's quickly take this opportunity for those who have not yet attended to the poll. We have 94 responses here out of 220 participants. First of all, I would like to appreciate us all for having joined. 220 is a good number, but we'll have just 94 responses. So please, let's use this opportunity to type in our questions as well as answer the questions in the polls. Thank you.
Can we try to take the questions for Dr. Ezekiel whilst we wait for Mr. Modupe? Dr. Ezekiel, a question from Infinix X6525 is asking that what are the necessary tools the public relations officer needs to effectively manage the reputation of his organization, recognizing that risk management is vital in the development of any organization? Is Dr. Ezekiel able to respond to that? Please unmute yourself, Doctor. We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Moji, can you hear me now? This is Stokes.
Oh, okay. Yes, Stokes, we can hear you now. Are you set?
Oh, yes, I am. I'll
Okay.
just share my screen if I'm allowed.
Okay. Doctor, is it okay for us to take Mr. Modupe very quickly so that you can respond to all the questions in one breath? Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, Moji.
Ladies and
Can I be
yes,
allowed
yes.
to share my screen?
Oh, yes. They're giving you access at the moment. Hassan is working on that.
Okay.
Your screen is
All right,
already.
So
And
I think
it's been shared already. We just can't see your presentation yet.
No, but I can't.
Okay, if it's okay, we can.
I can't share the screen.
Can we help you share from our end?
But I was sharing earlier. Just a minute.
Let's
We
try
can
to
see your screen. We can see you are using a mobile device. You can see your screen.
All right. Just a minute. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
All right. Thank you very much. And sorry for the. We're discussing protection of organization's reputation and the critical role of risk identification and management. The last two speakers have done justice to this, and the question will be, what else can I add to what they have shared with us? My president spoke very well, and the last speaker, Dr. Ezekiel Oseni, made a very profound statement, and that is, to the effect that if we choose to avoid risk taking, it is even a bigger risk. Therefore, risk is part of life, and we can't avoid it. So, background. Broadly speaking, risk is the prospect or likelihood of something displeasing happening, leading to unpredictability of an outcome and potential for loss or harm. It is the prospect of unpleasant development with adverse effects. But there are key points about risk that we need to understand. And there are two sides to these factors. One is the uncertainty, and then the other part is the potential for harm. While uncertainty relates to the assurance of implication or effect of an action or circumstance, potential for harm speaks to the relationship between risk and human value, that is, the well-being, like property, environment, health, wealth, etc. Reputational risk management. What are when you bring this down to reputational management, because what I spoke about the last slide was just broadly, generally about risk, or contextually, risk in reputation management concerns the potential development with adverse effects capable of eroding the image of a person, product, or a corporate brand. More concerning, reputational risk is the potential for a company's credibility to be destroyed, market value to be dropped, and image badly damaged due to adverse public perception, whether based on verifiable fabrication, conjectures, or facts. Specifically, reputation risk relates to the risk that leads to revenue loss or incurred unbudgeted costs due to the damages done to an organization's reputation. What are the examples of reputational risk? Depending on which sector of the economy you play, reputational risks are so diverse, and they include, are not limited to the following: social issues. Your location can be a risk to your business or your reputation. Your name, your business name, can also be a risk to your reputation. Your corporate culture, misconduct, ethical issue, customer experience, and chief amongst all of these is adverse conversation. Reputational risk is three-dimensional, and we can look at it from the following angles. You have what is called direct risk, you have indirect risk, and then you have the tangential risk. The direct risk, which may stem from internal issue caused by the company, this could be due to fraud or bad products. Indirect risk may arise from employees' bad behavior or actions. Think about, for example, a Dangote truck driver ramming into a market and killing some people. That is indirect. It's not from the organization directly, but from the employees' personal misconduct and behavior or carelessness. The tangential risk can be as a result of third parties' action. For example, a partner's organization. For example, if a major distributor of, say, a company like Nigerian Breweries with a branded truck, divert the truck to convey prohibited drugs. Once the news is out, nobody remembers that truck driver or that third-party organization. It is the organization with a big name that will be affected. So why should business owners be concerned about reputational risk? Business owners would naturally be concerned or should be concerned about reputational risk because reputation is capital. And because it is capital, trust is fundamental in perception management. As a major asset, reputation collapses without trust. Secondly, adverse reputation ultimately leads to loss of patronage. Nobody wants to go to a restaurant where somebody who ate there yesterday is complaining of diarrhea. Crisis can be very expensive, whichever method of mitigation a company wishes to apply, whether litigation or compliance in a case of regulatory violation or reconstructive PR. None of this method is cheap. Negative impact on the bottom line. This can erode profitability, revenue, and stock value if a company is traded on the stock market. Let me also give you an example. A quoted company, who is about to have its AGM in a month's time, suddenly, is suddenly having a fire incident. If that fire incident is not properly and persuasively communicated, within 2 days, the prices of that organization of the stock will drop. And in some cases, it can badly damage that organization and it may not recover from it. So what are the attributes of reputational risk? They include the fact that it affects the ability to continue servicing existing relationship. It could crystallize into increased litigation. It could result in increased financial losses if not well managed. It affects the ability to establish new relationship based on information about that organization. Nobody wants to do business with that organization. It involves and affects all stakeholders, because the bottom line, the impact of an organization affects not just the owners of the business. It is also present throughout the organization. So these are some of the attributes that you have to consider. Now, how do you manage reputational risk? There are 7 major components of reputational risk management process, and they include proactive and continuous risk assessment, multiple scenario response strategy. You have to be able to sit down and look at different scenarios. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if this suddenly develops? Strict compliance with regulatory laws. You must first of all ensure that you are not, circumventing regulatory laws and regulations. Ensure major stakeholders are effectively communicated, they're enlightened about issues that concern the organization. You must have open door and transparent process. And when you have open door and transparent process, it allows the public to give you, a benefit of doubt. We know this organization, they wouldn't do this. No. Their standard is so high. This can't be from them. Train your employee and ensure certification where necessary. Because when a problem starts, these are some of the questions that will arise. And if the answer to those questions comes in the negative, then it will be very, very difficult for you to build trust or recover from the crisis. Monitor, measure, and review risk. The fact that you have a risk mitigation strategy in place also means that also imposes responsibility of continuous monitoring, measurement, and constant review in case there are new development that requires, some level of new ideas and process review. Now, reputational risk impact assessment. We have to look at reputational risk impact assessment from different levels. This includes what you call the low impact assessment level. This is a situation where complaint will be very minimal, local, within the confine maybe of a department or just the organization. It's not going out. And then the second level is moderate. This may attract local media. It makes you vulnerable to conversation around you. Slight change in stakeholders' confidence. It may impact, the impact may last for a period of about 1 month to 3 months. And then the high impact. This could attract national media. It makes you vulnerable to all kinds of media feasting. Major impact on stakeholders' trust and confidence. A prolonged impact it will have on your business and reputation, and it will last for a period of 3 to 6 months or even longer. The most devastating of them is the very high impact. This time is unrestricted. You can't even curtail it. It goes into even international media, and conversation come from different angles. And situation like this may also attract policymakers, government decisions, etc. And the impasse could last over a year if you ever survive it. Conclusion: reputational risk is ever present in all businesses, organizations, and human activities. What is important is our understanding and appreciation of this risk by minimizing the risk potential and emplacing a culture of strategy of mitigation when it does happen. Because some risks never leave room for remedy. It kills the business if it doesn't kill the person. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the very concise presentation. And I really did like the grids of the low risk, high risk, moderate risk, high risk, and all of that. Some really enlightening reminders for those of us in practice. Without further ado, I would just like to mention again that we should all be reminded of the NPR week, which is coming up in May. It's planned to hold in Uyo from the 19th to the 24th of May. And really, it's with multiple sessions. Registration fee is 104,000 Naira. Registration closes on May 4th, and take advantage because late registration will come with a higher fee. Highlights of the PR week will include 20 plus plenary sessions. There'll be lots of breakout sessions and workshops. We'll be looking at topics around solid minerals as a driver for economic growth. And as we had last year, in Abeokuta, we'll also have the cultural nights. We'll have the networking sessions as well as the mentoring program. So please take advantage of the timing. We'll quickly run through the questions we have because it's piled up to 17. And thank you to the 209 participants who are still on the call. Thank you so much for joining, and we acknowledge your time and attention. So, Dr. Ezekiel, please help with responding to the question that we have. And it is that it's a question on what are the necessary tools a public relations officer would need to effectively manage the reputation of his or our organization.
Okay. All right. So can you hear me?
Yes, sure, we can. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
So I think the best tool, first of all, is to ensure that you, as the public relations, you continue pressing it on those in the back office, those that are creating the risk. So let them know that, look, they should manage, the risk that triggers reputation risk, the risk that culminate in reputational risk at the end of the day. So that is first thing I think you need to do, because it's not easy cleaning the mess that other people make. You keep going to the public, putting your own reputation at risk. After some time, they see you as a liar. I mean, you always come to defend the undefendable. You don't want to be that. You have your own reputational risk. I mean, your own reputation as well to protect. You don't want to sacrifice your reputation on the platform or the altar of the company you are working for. So first of all, you need to impress it on them that they need to do what is right. That's number one. Number two, I think you also need to let the facts be known. For instance, the company that I mentioned in Ghana, that Midland Savings and Loans, they had a reputation risk. They made a bloody mistake. A staff in the bank was the one recording, what was being done. Okay. So I mean, how do you prevent that? What the policeman did was not right anyway, but how do you prevent, information leaking out from within the organization to outside that you need to come back and begin to clean? And whereas the fellow that leaked the information is still there within the system, how do you get that done? So for me, I think you need to get the facts straight, come out with the facts, and be able to be able to not lie on the fact, not defending what is wrong, but come out to say, yes, we messed up here, we did this here, but we have done this to make sure that this is being addressed. Then I think the other thing you also need to do, I think you need to be in the face of your stakeholders at all times. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes,
okay.
We can.
So let it not be that only when you have issues you begin to come out. Let it be known that you are always out there all the time. You speak well of the organization at all times. Whatever you do that is good, make sure you broadcast it to the entire world. So when there are little challenges, the good that are created, the reputation you have created will be able to provide a big ocean, for that little damage, to go in and not to be seen. I can easily be forgiven. So these are some of the things I think you need to do from my own end, as a risk manager. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much. In effect, what you've said is that a lot of engagement with the stakeholder is very critical.
Yeah.
And again, from a service point to internal engagement of internal stakeholder engagement. I mean, internal stakeholder engagement is important. And then we also need to invest in a lot of goodwill and social currency. So that those are leverages that we can explore in a time when questions come up on our reputation. I thank you so much. So what if the reputation is lost or compromised? Is there any way, because this would seem, your first question really is about proactive reputation management. And so this next question is really around reactive reputation management. How then do we quickly redeem or recover from, what can be done to redeem or recover from a reputational damage?
Well,
how would you suggest?
Yeah, that's a very big question. If we go to the case of Auto Adase, that everybody was proud of. If you go to Nigerian banks and many other, they will tell you that they trained in Auto Adase. Everybody wants to be with Auto Adase. But where is Auto Adase today? They lost it because of their reputation. Their managing partner lost it totally. And you never hear about him again. So we should, as much as possible, not allow our reputation to be damaged. Sorry for those of you that are Muslims. The Bible tells us that when the foundation is destroyed, what can the righteous do? Reputation is the most important asset you can have. Your name, your brand is more valuable than your land and building. If the land and building is gotten by fire, if you have good reputation, they will come around to contribute money. You will even get people to donate a new building for you. And I will take you back to Bank of Industry. In 2006, when the building of Bank of Industry collapsed, those of you remember? That building collapsed,
Yes,
it was on a public holiday. But because of the reputation the bank had, and the reputation of the CEO, Mama Okutu, that bank did not go home. Another bank donated a building for it in Victoria Land. Almost all the banks in Nigeria donated furniture. You have a table from Intercontinental Bank. You have a chair from a UBA. You have another, everything just because of the reputation. The beating went down, but the reputation was still there. The reputation of the bank, the reputation of the CEO, everything moved together, made Bank of Industry to continue to survive and became a very, very great bank that Nigeria is proud about today. So your reputation is the most important thing. Let it not be destroyed. If it is destroyed, I don't know what else can be done. Thank you.
Okay. Since you can't help us with that question so appropriately, I think it would be great to have Talks come on board. I mean, he's done a lot and he's fixed a lot of reputation for people in the past. But there's a comment actually on Arthur Anderson. And really, I also do remember that over time, whether from the incident or otherwise, Arthur Anderson rebranded and they went into separate ways of Accenture and Anderson. And then it's all in the books of history. But Talks, please, could you help us? Reputation is damaged. How then do we revamp it? I mean, it's already happened, Fire has torn the jackets. How do we get back to the tailor with the new fabric and look regal as we should?
Well, like I said during the presentation, may our reputation not kill us. Because indeed there are some incidences that you won't even have the opportunity to recover from. Then if you have the real opportunity of recovery, I think it is important that we understand that transparency, honesty is very, very important. Admittance of guilt, for example, if your system failed, you have to appreciate the fact that you have disappointed the public and then come very plain, to say that, yes, indeed, we've discovered what happened. We indeed dropped the ball, but these are the steps that we are taking to redress the situation. I looked at the example given by Dr. Ezekiel of the bank in Ghana, for example. If you look at what happened in that scenario, in that situation, it wasn't just the policeman that did the damage. The entire system did the damage because the system started the process, okay, by failing, to pay the poor woman to go and feed a child. And then she refused to leave. But management of that bank, in their attempt to oppress the woman, invited the policeman to come and enforce their intention. Okay, now, how would such a bank recover? In another culture, maybe the license, is not withdrawn, and then the public just choose to boycott that bank. So the bank will have to come out very plain and admit what it has done, the bank has done, get to that woman, apologize to that woman, empower that woman, and that woman can become an ambassador of the bank. So information substitution driven by positive action. Because the public, the content consumption habit of the public is if you bring in negative, they consume it, and you get response negative. If you bring positive content, they consume it, except that positive content consumption will take a longer time for them to form positive perception. But negative is like an instant thing because it's about emotion, it's about, the people will always be on the side, the negative news trend more and impacts even stronger. So information substitution, we have to be driven by positivities. And positivities will have to be driven by both action and communication. When people see that you are honest, you are transparent, they kind of give you a second chance.
Thank you. There's a popular demand that the world wants to see your face. Please switch to video if you can, and if you can't, please let the 200 plus know that you are unable to join with the video as well. Thank you so much, Tokes. And I do believe that, oh, so nice to see you.
Nice to see you too, Moji.
Nice to see you.
Unfortunately,
So,
I can't see the faces of the over 200 people that want to see my face.
Don't worry, the masquerade has seen them all. They haven't seen, it's okay. They've all seen your face. They've all seen your face. So if we go back to Ifeanyiwa Giddens had a question posted, and I believe that response has been made by Tokunbo. Same for the press unit. Really, it's just to say that you need to invest in the good times. I mean, have a huge depository of goodwill in good times so that you can leverage it when life and its challenges happen. And if not, if it is redeemable, I mean, owning up to your faults is one big solution to earning empathy. If I'm right to use that word. So we can go to the next question. How can we ensure business continuity plan addresses potential reputation risk? That would be for Dr. Ezekiel to respond to, but very quickly, we need to run through the other questions. So, Doctor, could you quickly, in less than a minute, address that? I mean, but I do believe it may be a very revolving question or situation to work on.
Okay, yeah. So thank you very much. So how can we ensure that business continuity address reputational issues? We know that business continuity is just a strategy to ensure that there's no disruption to our operations in case of any events that could probably create that. So and I think what we need to do is from time to time, you need to test your disaster recovery plan. You need to assure the public that you have a very robust system and that at no point, even if there's any challenge, you always have a buffer that can always fall on. For instance, your IT, maybe you have a challenge 1 or 2, people are not able to withdraw their money, and they're already saying, oh, it appears the bank is having problems, they're having liquidity issues. Deliberately, they're trying to frustrate people. You need to let them know, no, that is not true. We have a robust system. In fact, we just acquired, another IT that we spend about $1 billion on, and all this kind of information will give so much confidence to the public. And in the event that eventually you have a downtime of less 1 hour or 2 hours, the fact that you are giving that public information out, they'll give them assurance that the challenge will soon be resolved. So these are some of the things I think you can do to assure the public that no matter what happens, you continue to be in business and your reputation will always remain intact.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. And I would think that sort of responds to the question from Dennis Marvelous, who's asking that how do you effectively measure, how do you measure the effectiveness of the reputation risk management effort? So you mentioned something about the reputation recovery plan. So in my head, if you've got 10 items on the checklist, again, you score 50 over 100, you fed averagely. If you scored the 100, but that's me from a very non-risk expert's point of view. If you could just quickly respond to that. And then in addition to that, there's a particular question that's come to me directly, and it's to say that how can ministry, and I don't think it is ministries alone, there's a deficit of trust, and every time the government speaks, and it's not peculiar to Nigeria, there's a huge lack of trust in the system, in pronouncements and all of that. So I would rephrase this question to say, how can governments or the public sector, how can they develop effective crisis communication plans to protect their reputation? Because at the end of the day, the reason people aren't having enough trust, or the reason the citizenry isn't trusting the government or the public sector enough, is because there's lack of trust. And it's a consequence of their reputation, whether it is self-imposed or accidental.
Okay. So let me go to the first one. If I heard you very well, how do we ensure the effectiveness of the reputation risk management? I think something around that. Yes, it's very easy to determine whether you are managing your risk, your reputation risk very well. The number of incidents, negative reports we get, every time. When I was in the bank, because we are very sensitive, we go on. Sometimes I go on Nairaland to read what they say about us on Nairaland. Yes, I was not the one managing the public relations, but I was managing the risk of the bank. And I needed to know what people are saying about us. So I go there once in a while. Oh, it takes them forever to get their loan. Oh, it also. And when people are saying that, somebody will say, I got my loan within 3 weeks. You will see one or two people, countering what the negative perception somebody was creating. So the number of negative reports you get, you expect to reduce. You don't want to get any reputational fine. You don't want to no court cases. Nobody's taking you to court. Nobody's doing bad press about you. That shows that your risk management or reputation is effective. That's one way, or some of the ways you can also know. Then it's also very important that you promote risk culture within your system. Let the management consciously make everybody a risk manager. Be risk conscious. Know what the system is doing. Know that you are not a passenger, but you are all working towards a common goal. When you have that and you carry everybody along, it's going to be easy for everybody to speak for you. And then when you are out there, you engage your stakeholders internally, externally. It's going to be easier for people to come out and defend you. I know what people say about BI when I was in the system. They come out to say, look, what I say is wrong. This is how it works. You cannot say you want a loan and you're not submitting your papers and you think they will approve your loan just like that. It takes you forever to submit your papers. So people even come around to come and speak in your favor. Then as for the government, yes, it's all over the world. And there's nothing the government can do to get 100% trust of the people. Okay, but as much as possible, they need to make sure that they are open, they're transparent, and they build trust, and communicate their plans very well, They shouldn't be all the time trying to defend. I was listening to one news, somebody was saying, one country, I'm not sure whether it's Nigeria, that they spend so much here and here, and they were referring to what is happening in US and UK and say, we're on the same level. It's an African country. So it shouldn't be like that. So they should be open, be transparent, and they should not only come out when it is time for crisis, they should let people know what they are doing underground. It shouldn't be when there's a crisis, they will say, oh, we just commissioned this project, we just did this one, we're working on it. There should be trust all the time. And along the way, there could be a problem. But because people are already aware, they are aware that government is on this one, it's going to be easier for them to be able to manage such issues when it comes out. It's just a matter of saying, remember, last week we told about what we're doing. It's not that we're just coming out to tell you like we're telling lies. So I think effective communication will be very necessary for crisis management, especially in the government spaces. So, and for those of you that are working in the public relations of the government, I think you have a lot of work to do. Okay, have a lot of work to do. The principal and make sure that they are up on date and they give you good information that can put to the public, not only when there are crises to manage.
Yeah, and I believe Talks has a lot to his belt in terms of managing the government's communication. And I bet you have a comment to make in that regard, because it's really for a learning opportunity.
Well, I'm going to speak from an industry person, okay, and my perspective to this issue. Government, I see from two perspectives. An institution that is not interested in communicating, they just want to dump things on people. So where you have that kind of situation, I wonder if they're even interested in, reputational risk management, because in the first place, they do not even, there's nothing like reputation to them. Anything goes. It's all politics or whatever. Then I also see it from another perspective. You also have some components or, agencies of government that want to do things like the private sector. So that is an indication that gradually we may someday, have a system that values reputation, because you have to value reputation for you to be concerned about reputational risk. So these are the two sides to it. And if we choose to assume that government is interested in having good reputation with the people, then government will also need to know who their stakeholders are. And we just assume that the general public, okay, for every component of government addresses a section of the society. The man in the village, okay, is not interested in what is happening in Ministry of Finance. He's not interested. His entire life may just depend on what is the kind of conversation that is coming out from the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, etc. So governments will have to, the reputational managers of governments or institution must also identify their stakeholders. That is where stakeholder mapping comes in. And then when you do that, then you also have to define the kind of conversation that you're going to be having with them in a way that they will earn your trust. Again, I go back to the issue of transparency. The reason why people don't trust government is because people don't, believe that government is saying the truth. Because you see policy and then you see action, there's no correlation, there's no connection.
They don't match.
So believability is extremely difficult to achieve. So you can align. And for you to build reputation, your action must align with your conversation. So there lies the challenge and opportunity as well. If they choose to have the right kind of reputation, then there are people out there like you and I that can help, bridge that gap, because no amount of PR can leverage bad conduct. None.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much. I mean, when I said to the world that you're the guru, people thought I was exaggerating. Oh, goodness. Thank you. So really, it's about the strength of dimensioning who the stakeholders are, what are their interests and their pain points. So ladies and gentlemen, 201 people are still on this, 200 right now on this webinar. Thank you so much for waiting. Some questions will be responded to in the course of time, but we need to get back into the mainstream of the session. Thank you so much. The presentations will all be shared with the mailing list of registered participants. So if by chance you got the link and you just joined in, do well to go register properly so that you can receive the deck. All right, so we'll just quickly go on to the next speaker, and that would be Hassan. Hassan is our magnanimous convener for today, and he's done a very good job bringing all the eggheads together. And I hope the people from the public sector are here as well to know that Semua and Chief Tokumbo are here to attend to your needs, as well as other members of the PR practice. So we'll quickly jump to Abdul. Hassan Abdul is the lead consultant and the CEO of Drawbridge Communications Limited, the very kind and magnanimous convener of this session, of this webinar. This is the third in the series towards the NPR week coming up in May. Coming up between May 19th and 24th at Uyo, and I hope everyone is able to come. We had a great time last year. I hope we can repeat and even beat the record from last year's edition. So Hassan has a diverse background spanning the Nigerian military. That explains how Hassan is the way he is. Media and the banking sector. He has over 15 years of experience in communication, including public relations, brand management, marketing, communications, reputation management, journalism, and strategy development. He has worked with local and international organizations, leveraging his communication expertise to drive results. He holds a mass communication degree from the prestigious Bayero University, Kano, and a certificate in creative design and digital communication from the Pan-Atlantic University. He's currently pursuing a Project Management Institute certification in risk management in risk management certification. And he's a member of the most regarded institutes. Yes. He's a member of the NIPR, as well as a member of the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, resoundingly, if we can clap for him, the convener of this webinar, Hassan Abdul, the lead consultant of Drawbridge Communications Limited. Thank you. Hassan, you have 10 minutes.
I think Hassan is having issues with network.
Oh, okay. So if Hassan is having network issues, we can continue with the questions that we have. And once his challenge is resolved, we can then go back to him. So the next question is, are there any industry-specific resources or guidelines for reputation risk management for people's knowledge? Do we have a risk management guideline or tool or resource that people can explore? I know that a lot of times there's the bit of investing in listening so that you're able to, so you plan by seeding messaging, and then you also invest in listening tools. There are a lot of listening tools, and the very basic one is Google Alerts, if you can. But there are quite a number of listening tools and subscriptions, but Tooks, any tools or guidelines anyone can have to work with? That's the question from Olayemi Olamide.
All right. There are quite a number of tools that you can subscribe to. But let me also say that it's important that we understand that risk management for every sector. The fundamentals are the same, but you have to look at your industry where you play. You need to understand the environmental issues that affects your industry. You have to look at other people's experience before you in that industry. What have they gone through? What are they likely to? What are you likely to go through? And you also have to get the buy-in of the people, make contributions. What are the things that can have the potential for crisis? And then, based on all of that, you have to have what is called predictive analysis, and that allows you to paint scenarios, because looking at tools will only help you to monitor sentiment, conversations, but there are fundamentals that you have to put in place for even the sentiments to be right. Because the sentiment is based on actions, activities, and what you think about your organization, or what level of involvement or initiatives that would determine public perception. So when you do that, based on all of those factors that I mentioned, then monitoring becomes very, very important, because you have put certain things in place. You want to be sure that what you are doing is right, or the audience consuming those content, enjoying it. Because if you go to a restaurant and eat and you don't enjoy the meal, you are not likely to go back there. Okay, so the same thing with conversation. When something suits you, you want more. And if people are not enjoying it, then you quickly adjust and make sure you get a new cook, you know, or, you know, get the right things done. You know, so talking about tools, I'm sure that Moji, these questions we can have a private chat. I do not want to be a public advocate for proprietary issues, and you know, there are limits to. There is a limit to what we can just throw out here. But if people are interested, we are willing to consult or offer free advice privately. Thank you.
I agree with. Thank you so much for the time. So Hassan seems to be getting back his mojo for this presentation. But again, just to reiterate what Tokunbo said, so there is no one cap fits all in terms of risk plan, risk management, and all that. The principles may be the same, but the peculiarity is not even just limited to the industry you're working with. It also links back into the culture, the organizational culture. What are your values? What aren't your values? So to me personally, it may be a big deal for me to have a 70% human resource ratio for women to men, and in an organization where I work. And the risk that would be associated with having women on your team would definitely be not exactly the same as if you had an all-male team. So just to say that much as possible, resources will be there, but it's the same way like ChatGPT. You put in the prompt, it gives you your response. And again, it is what you put in that you get out. Really, that's what I'm trying to say. Hassan, are you ready to take your presentation?
Yes, yes, I am. And thank you very much for everyone for at least being patient. My network just went off at the time I was about to speak. I think my network provider has a reputational issue they need to work on. And thank you also.
They are hearing you.
Yes, let them hear you properly. My friend Shegun Bakmedal decided to also just take a jibe when you said Hassan is getting his mojo. I think he just responded on my chat also. So before I share it's about 3-4 slides what I want to just share, just thoughts that are in the public space about predictions around reputation risk management going into the future. You had mentioned, or Tokes had mentioned, the issue of different industries having different indicators where you measure or you would identify what can be a risk factor. So for instance, if you're in real estate, areas where risk can exist can be maybe in the area of the quality of the properties you develop, your services, your customer service, your sales and marketing. If you are in building and construction, you can be in the area of construction quality and workmanship, can be in project management timelines, can be safety and risk, can be quality control and assurance. All of these are different places. So in different industries where risk is likely going to be found can be different. There are some that are generic across industries, but there are some that will be service and industry specific. So which is why the practice of reputational risk identification is a little bit of a tailored service. So someone cannot just come and say, oh, I can do reputational risk identification, and he's confronted with a hotel and he cannot really identify where does risk exist in a service such as this. So I just thought I should just mention that. So let me just quickly take us through this.
Hassan, please, just a moment. I'm sorry to butt in. So the world would like to see your fine face, if I'm allowed to say that. So there have been a number of requests that they will done on your video. Thank you.
My video is on. My video is on. They can't see my video.
Can't see you, apparently.
That's strange. I can see me.
Okay.
I can see Hassan.
Okay, so let's go on then.
Yes. Okay.
I can see.
Okay. I can see other comments too coming in. I think I'm visible. Okay. So future trends and predictions that we just need to just keep a finger on, so that as these things begin to evolve in our practice, we are aware and we can quickly key into them, or we can begin to push and agitate for them and advocate for them in our different areas where we operate. So that's where this presentation is taking us to. So we are likely going to have a future where companies will begin to prioritize proactive risk management a bit more, because people are becoming aware of the value that reputation adds to the enterprise as a whole or an organization. We are likely going to see a lot more interest in risk management. So as practitioners, it is important we begin to upskill. It is important we begin to identify this with this particular shift. If this is an area we have not been taking interest in before, I think it is time we begin to look at it. Proactive risk management as against reactive risk management. And proactive risk management starts with being able to identify. So risk identification is the very first thing that we need to build skill in if we want to become skilled in proactive risk management. Most organizations, I'm sure, are tired of having to always be caught on the back foot. It's not in anybody's interest to always have to react after it has happened. So most managements will be interested where you are able to present them with options for how they can quickly identify. And that's where Dr. Oseni said something about PR practitioners ensuring they are part of the decision-making process and engaging with those whose actions are likely going to trigger risk. So if we're able to identify these organizations and begin to develop strategies around it, so that reputation management starts from reputation risk identification, and then we can develop reputation strategies as part of our PR strategy, and we link it directly to those causative factors. I think that's one way we can begin to also key into what the future presents. I think Tokes mentioned the issue of transparency and authenticity. There's more interest now, and there's more attention being placed on how transparent and authentic organizations are. Transparent in your systems, in your processes, authentic in how you convey and communicate yourself, how you build and how you create an atmosphere of open communication. So in doing our job, I think it's time for us to begin to shift from being just, I don't use the word tactics-driven people, but we should begin to push management and our principals to understand the value of open communication and honesty. I think we should move from that era where PR people are tagged as spin doctors, and our job is to basically try to whitewash. Most in this era of digital transformation, many people can see beyond what's the attempts at whitewashing. Audiences are more perceptive, audiences are more intelligent. The things that we could get away with 15, 20 years ago are no longer true. So we need to build that capacity in being able to hold open and honest conversations which still drive positive narratives and build reputation. Then stakeholder engagement. As businesses, we need to begin to focus more on engaging with our stakeholders, both internal and external, in ways that will help us to understand their concerns and their priorities, and aligning our communication, aligning our strategy, and aligning our services to those concerns and priorities. Those can also help to build reputation, where your actions align with stakeholder concerns and priorities, and there is that evidence that you are delivering on those concerns and priorities. You build that positive reputation that they can always come back and hold you in high regard for. Then crisis preparedness. Companies need to begin to also develop comprehensive crisis management plans, ensuring that they're prepared to respond quickly and effectively. So this has to do with reputation strategy. The second one has to do with business continuity. And so basically we're looking at, as PR practitioners, what's the role we can play in building business resilience. So that's another area that we need to begin to position ourselves before our organizations. So we are not just doing PR for communication's sake. The communication connects with building resilience in the organization, helping the organization to be able to withstand shocks, helping it to overcome vulnerabilities, and helping it to bounce back from times of crisis and threats. So we have to be able to be involved in business continuity planning. So PR and communication needs to move from the back room to the front room to the boardroom. Business continuity planning that ensures that we can respond to reputational issues, that's where we should be playing in. Then, of course, risk assessment and monitoring, which is what the topic of this webinar focused on. It is going to be crucial in the coming years, and it's very important that we learn how to also be skilled at it so that we can help our organizations and our clients to manage their risks before they escalate. So typically the process is you have a risk but escalates and becomes a threat escalates and becomes a crisis. So when you deal with them from when there are risks, you are able to prevent them from even becoming threats or even snowballing into crisis. Then we have to learn how to integrate with broader business objectives. That way, executive management are able to see the contribution that we bring in from the global perspective of the business itself. PR and communication needs to move from just being an appendage to business to being a business enabler. And how we're able to do that is to show them how reputation management enables business objectives and ensures that businesses are able to stand and to withstand times of trial and storms. I think the final thing I just want to look at is predictions. We are in an AI-driven age. So maybe I'll start from that. There's a likelihood that as more people begin to understand the potential for, or the capacity of reputation and what is the role it plays in organizations, bad actors, people who turn bad actors are basically people who have a negative intention towards your organization or your business. They are going to build more capacity for using AI to generate attack campaigns against an organization's reputation. So we also need to be prepared for that. Just as reputation is growing in its relevance, it is also, that relevance is now going to be even a much bigger target for people who want to bring down organizations and individuals and businesses. So as PR practitioners, we need to grow skills and capacity to manage this. On the positive side, AI will also give us tools that we can use to simplify the process of risk identification and management. And we will be coming into an age of reputation intelligence, that age where the ability to gather intelligence that will drive our reputation begins to take center stage. The ability to have insight into consumer sentiment will help us to be able to know what direction we should go as a brand. When you are developing your overall strategy, you are able to identify the areas where there are risks, turn them into opportunities. You're able to identify the areas where consumer sentiment is tilting towards and build a strategy around it. Most of the time, the places where our risks exist are the places where, as communicators, our opportunities also exist. Where we're able to tackle the risks, we're able to convert those risks and communicate them in ways that build the confidence of the public in our brands. So I think these are just the summary of what I wanted to just share with us. There is a whole other side of this presentation that we don't have time for. Maybe those are some of the things we'll also package together in the post-webinar communication, which we will encourage you to be on the lookout for. I will hand over back to you now, Muji. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hassan. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't take too many questions. The questions will be responded to in working with the presenters and everything, and it will be all be sent to us. So in wrapping up, if it's okay, I would call on Dr. Wale Oyekomi, the council member and chairman of a subcommittee on faculty and training for the NPR Uyo 2025 to give his vote of thanks and provide any other information as may be necessary. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Moji. I got information from Dr. Oyekomi. he is having challenges with his network. And I think he has tried to reconnect a couple of times. So he just sent me a message now on WhatsApp. And so maybe I will just take that as his closing remarks. And before I do that, I would also just like to acknowledge all who have contributed in our poll that had to do with knowledge and practice pulse check. That particular poll has now just been ended. And so we will just launch a second poll, which basically just tries to get us to give our feedback on the webinar experience itself. So please just take out time to just fill it out. I think it's just about 5 questions. So, but from Dr. Wale, his message is simply just to reiterate the upcoming conference in Uyo, and also to let us know that there are still 2 more of these pre-conference webinars lined up before May the 19th. The objective of these webinars, of course, is to begin to prime us, to keep us fully engaged towards the conference, and to give us a taste of things to come. I believe that the webinars we've had so far have been packed. We've had very quality resource persons. We've had very interesting topics, and they have been engaging. But they are just a tip of the iceberg. If we can do this, remotely and virtually and without much organization, imagine what is waiting for us in Uyo. So please, if you have not yet prepared to go to Uyo, please make out time to be there. So the other 2 pre-conference webinars that we have coming up are public relations in marketing and brand building. So the first one that is coming up after this is public relations in marketing and brand building, and it will be anchored by fellow Dr. Peter Oyeneye. And the date for that is May 6th, the 6th of May 2025 at 10 a.m. And the link for that will be shared for registration and participation. Then this will be followed afterwards by modern trends in public relations, effective PR strategies in an interconnected world. And our speaker is going to be a Kenyan. Her name is Susan Amu, and the link also for this will be shared later. So we have PR in marketing and brand building by fellow Dr. Peter Oyeneye on May 6th, and then we have modern trends in PR, effective PR strategies in an interconnected world by Susan Amu. Susan Amu is Director of Engagement at Caritas International in Rome. So those are the quick announcements that we have as we begin to draw this session to a close. I would like to first of all thank our moderator, Madam Moji. Thank you very, very much. You have been very, very, in fact, you put up a stellar performance. We really appreciate how you have guided the conversations. We appreciate how you've engaged the panelists and the audience. We appreciate how you've basically just managed us. So on behalf of all the other panelists, on behalf of all the attendees, and on behalf of Drawbridge, I want to just say thank you. You are deeply appreciated. It has not been easy, and we know that you really did very, very well. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the very kind words. I don't know where that came from, but thank you.
Yeah, okay, no, not a problem. I think someone is even asking what would it take to moderate a webinar. Okay, send me a DM, and I'll send you my consultation fee. I'll tell you what it takes. I'll send you my invoice also. And so please take out time to fill out the second poll, which will just give us an insight into how you enjoyed this session. Let us know that both in terms of the technical quality as well as the content quality. Dr. Ezekiel, you are deeply appreciated. Thank you very much for your time. Our own talks, you always continue to lead the way in terms of reputation management and as a practice. Thank you very much for your input and for all of your contribution. Our president was here earlier. He had to leave. In absentia, I also send my gratitude and gratitude of everyone here. Until we meet at the next webinar, I would just want to say, please plan to attend NPRW Uyo 2025. If you don't have the link for registration, I'm sure if you reach out to your local chapter or if you are on the WhatsApp group for the NIPR, you should be able to find that link. Please endeavor to register. And I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar, and also to seeing you at Uyo. From me and everyone here at the Drawbridge team, I just want to say, have a very good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Have a good afternoon.
I'm just waiting for people to leave.